What is i.n.c.h? Well, let me explain the acronyms behind it. When it comes to preppers and survivalists, we all have one thing in common, and that is each one of our families, at least is supposed to, have a bag. This bag contains enough supplies in most cases for 72 hours. If something should happen and you and your family have to leave home, you get stranded on the road, or for some reason you end up on foot. All these bags are different. They fall under different acronyms, and you've got what they call a BOB, and that's a bug out bag. This is in case, like I said, you had being forced out of your home. You and your family should each have one, and each one of these bags should have enough supplies for at least 72 hours. You should. This bag here, my bag, is a GHB bag, and that's a get home bag. Because I live 60 miles, I work 60 miles from home, and I spend 60% of my time away from home. So if anything should happen, I'm more than likely going to be coming back home. And if I end up on foot, I've got to make sure that I've got enough supplies to get back home. Now, a lot of people think, well, 60 miles isn't that bad. Well, it is, because in my area we have bridges and tunnels, and I'm sure if I'm walking, then those bridges, and I'm sure all of those tunnels are going to be out of commission. You also have what's called the i.n.c.h bag. I'm never coming home. And that is, if it's some sort of disaster that has pushed you and your family away from your home, and you know that you won't be coming back. For instance, I live 20 miles away from a nuclear power plant. And if something happens in that, they said you need to be at least 50 miles away. If there is some kind of radiation that destroys the area, then, of course, I'm never coming home. So I've got to make sure that I'm well stocked up and well packed. In this case, we're not talking about a bag. What we are talking about is my truck or my car. And what I've got for both of these is my bug out trailer. What happens if me and my family have to leave home in case of an emergency for an extended length of time, or we realize that, I'm never coming home? It may be that simple. It may be that bad. And the thing is, not only making sure that you get out, if you can drive and leave, making sure you have enough supplies with you in case you're not going to be coming back for a long, long time. And that's what we're going to discuss. We're going to show you how I'm going to set things up and answer your questions on here. We're driven from our home. We're going to make sure that if we have nowhere to go, or if we're stranded on the highway, or if our family, at least, is going to be safe and not go hungry. In my immediate family right now, it's just me, the wife, and our 2 dogs. So one of the things I want to make sure of is that human food is going to be easier to find than dog food, so I make sure that the dogs have plenty of food. 3 bags. Not only that, if you have nowhere to go, you've lost your home, and you end up over someone's house, they're more likely not going to want your pets in. If you do allow them in, you're going to need to provide for those pets because they're not going to do it. So we make sure they have a few weeks worth of food. Also, anytime you're at the grocery store or Walmart, somewhere like that, every now and then, pick up one of these emergency kits here. They have 48 hours worth of food in here for 4 persons. Just me and my wife. So that stretches it out to what, 92? And of course, I can make it stretch out even further for that. And a lot of stuff in here the dogs can eat. Dehydrated food. These things are really great to have and put in here. You can get whole dinners, purchase them, stick them in a box like this. We probably have a couple weeks worth in there because each one of these packets is good from anywhere to 4 to 6 servings. With just the wife and I, we can stretch this out. Also, the dogs will eat some of this as well. So we have plenty of food in here. When you go to the grocery store, don't forget to check those marked down shell items they have in there. I pick up these little things here. These little juice containers. I normally would never buy these in a million years, but for 46 cents a pack, or for 88 cents for 4 packs. Plus, these would be great if you have kids also to start stocking up on these and placing them in here. And of course, don't forget, you're going to need your water. Don't have that filled up right now. 5 gallons here, 10 gallons, whatever you need. Make sure that's part of your prepping trailer. And yes, make sure you have all your documents, your passports, titles, mortgages, anything, all placed up in a safe box. This is where I keep mine here. Family photos you don't want to lose. Put them in here. And keep them close by. That way if you'll have to make a sudden evacuation, all of that's right there. And of course you're thinking, well, we got to heat all that food up. We'll get into all the cooking options and things you need in the next video. We talked about getting all our food supply together and placing in our bug out trailer here. And today we're going to talk about what you need to cook it. What are some of the supplies? And this is what I've got. And here, contains everything I need to cook a meal. Right here, I got a couple grills in here, utensils. This here's my BioLite setup here. It's a grill that can burn wood, pellets, anything. And you see this little orange thing on the side here? That actually charges a battery, and it can charge your phones as well. It works off of the heat. Then I have my Coleman grill that works off of our propane bottles, which I keep a couple of those in here. I have extras, I'll show those later. And then, let's see. And this here is a little handheld cooking utensil you can hold over the fire. You got to have pots to cook out of. This here's a little setup here. It has your boiler, your frying pan, your saucepan. Then here's a little crate that I use to carry all my utensils in. Forks, knives, spatulas, things you're going to need to cook with. Then after that, this is, I know you don't like it, but I don't like it either. Plastic, paper and styrofoam. But you have to remember, you're trying to conserve water. And plates, you have to use water to wash with. Also, they will break if they're packed too tightly, or that bug out trailer, starts bouncing around. You could lose your plates in there. So this is one of the alternatives I'd go for. And you see, we got our food, we got our cooking, all our cooking stuff now. All that's left is shelter, and we'll do that in part 4. Come on, Pax, let's go home. We have a month or more of food supply here. We have all our utensils, all our stoves, things to cook with, all our fuels to cook with, and we have our water. And since we have all that, we're going to need some place to stay. So we have to think about shelter. And right here, inside here, I've got 2 tents, and this is a portable change room / bathroom as well. And you also want to make sure anytime you put the tent on the ground, you want a tarp underneath there to keep that moisture from coming up and the cold from seeping in. Now, if you notice, I keep everything in weatherproof boxes. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I love tents. I have almost a dozen tents, and I have one for each occasion. So if you're curious about why I chose these 2 tents in particular, is because they're roomy, and they're my quickest tents to set up and tear back down. Because if they're in an emergency situation and you do have time to make camp during the night, you also want to break it back down quickly the next morning and continue heading down the road wherever you're going to. Of course, once we get camp set up, get the tent set up, we'll also want to need a place to lay inside the tent. And sleeping bags were kept in my vehicles, but in here I've got 2 sets of air mattresses, and I've got a manual air pump to pump them up. I have I'm supposed to have 2 of these. I can't find the other one yet, but this is a little pad that we'll use to put in the other tent for the dogs if we have set up camp somewhere and they sleep in there. So, and I've got some Centinela candles here to keep the bugs away. Also, I have a solar powered light. If you've seen this before, this is what I use inside of my sheds here to light things up. So this can be used inside of my tent. I also have what I call my light boxes here. I keep candles and glow sticks in this one here, and I keep all my batteries inside of this one right here in case I need them. Now, and more glow sticks. I also keep a 5-gallon can of gas in here as well, because I've told you many times, you want to make sure to keep your car, your vehicle, as full as you can at all times in case there's an emergency. And if you run low on gas, you want to have that spare gas in the trailer, because there's always, like I said, there's 2 things. If you're getting out of here because of an emergency, there's 2 things you're running from. You're running from that emergency, you're running from that traffic that's building up in front of you. So if you're going to end up in a gas station, you can wait behind several other cars or several hundred other cars trying to get fuel. If you remember, we have at least for my wife and I and the dogs, we have almost 2 months worth of food. We have plenty of shelter, changing room / bathroom. We have everything we need to cook our food, and we have our bedding and lighting and stuff like that for inside the tent. We have our water, we have our gas. And I'm sure a lot of you can say, well, you forgot this, this, and this. And more than likely, I didn't forget it. It's possibly in this truck here. A lot of stuff in this truck that I use if I had to spend the night on the job. Also, keep a lot of it in the car there as well. But one great thing about the bug out trailer is you don't have to call it a bug out trailer, especially when your neighbors are around, and you can sit it out in the open without people being suspicious. Well, they might ask, well, what's all this? Well, this is where I keep all my camping gear stored. Okay, don't have the room. There's a lot of gear here. Don't really have the room in the house. Plus, my family and I love camping. We don't get a chance to do it as much as we like. So it's good to keep all our camping gear in one place. That way, if we find the time to go out and do something, all we have to do is hook to the trailer and we're off. So we keep everything here. That way, it's also we don't have to worry about gathering all our camping supplies if we go somewhere and more worried about what we've left behind. But the thing is, you got to remember, the world around us is changing. It may have not affected you yet, but it will. The weather's getting worse. Global warming's getting worse. Our government is getting worse when it comes to screwing us over. And if something happens, I mean, you've got to look at the news. You've got to look at other people that shit has been affecting. You got to look at all these people that had everything. They had a home. And suddenly they find themselves out on the street with nothing on their back at all except the clothes on their back. Here, if something should happen, you and your family at least have a chance to survive a couple months or more. You have a chance to get out of the weather. Thing is, anything can happen at any time. You just watch the news. Just listen to the person next to you who's suffering. That's what, that's to my ear. You think of everything. It's not that I really think of everything. I just watch what other people are going through, and I learn from them. I make sure if that happens to me, that I'm covered, that me and my family are safe. And if you want the confidence to survive whatever happens tomorrow, you better be thoroughly prepared for it today.